Your decree nisi is official, and so the quickest way to do this is, as the petitioner, as the one who's instigated the administrative process of the divorce, you have to wait 6 weeks and 1 day before you can apply for a decree absolute. And that's when you're actually legally divorced. Until then, you cannot marry someone else. So hold your horses, 6 weeks, 1 day. If for some reason you kind of stop at that point, which does happen, and don't do that final stage, and again it goes back to often the emotional, psychological side of divorce. Sometimes people go for years without just doing that final step. There's something so final about it. But your spouse might not be so keen to let that go on, so they have to wait about 3 months. But if you haven't got round to it yet, then they can then say, right, come on, let's get this this decree absolute sorted, and then we are properly divorced. There have been cases where people go, wow, it's so simple, we don't have any money, we don't have any assets, so we've got our divorce, job done. Now, it's unlikely that your ex will come back when you win the polls and say, oh, I want some of that. But legally, they do have a leg to stand on. They probably won't get a vast amount, but they could take you through court and lawyers' fees and make life a bit difficult. Unlikely, but it does happen. So, although it is an extra expense, I would heartily recommend that you do a consent order, even if in it there's really nothing to have an agreement about, because you don't own anything and you don't have any savings. But just to finish the process off fully, I think that's a good idea, because you don't plan to be poor for the rest of your life, do you? You want to go out there and build a new life, both of you, and you want to make sure that your ex doesn't suddenly decide they want a bit of that later on, or maybe their new partner does. So even if your divorce has been really simple, really straightforward, no money involved, no assets to split, I would really recommend thinking of just spending that little bit of money, taking your agreement, but turning that into a proper consent order. All it is they take what you give them, turn it into legal speak so it makes sense to the judge, and that then submitted to the court. And it just makes that a legally binding agreement. Ideally, you would be doing this before the decree nisi, making sure that's part of the bundle of information that's sent into the court. And it might seem a bit unnecessary, but do you want to, just for that peace of mind, for that complete closure, it's probably worth at least having a chat with a lawyer. You don't have to spend ridiculous amounts of money. If you ask for a quote for a consent order, you'll often be quoted thousands of pounds. But that's on the assumption that there's going to be arguing and letters going backwards and forwards. But you're not doing that. All you want is for that to be turned into a legal document by a solicitor to say that that's binding. And so that doesn't have to cost you a ridiculous amount of money, because it's not a massive job for them. Great, the divorce is done, maybe you want to have a divorce party. You're elated, but perhaps your ex-spouse is still finding it a bit tricky. So, maybe you too are quite affected by this more than you thought. So give yourself time, and a bit of space. Again, access some useful people who can help you perhaps think about what you're going to do next, where you're going in your life. Divorce and separation are a big catalyst in people's lives, and they can be very, very productive catalysts actually, if you use it the right way. And I hope very much that if you've got to this stage, that it's been peaceful, that it's been fairly straightforward, and that even if you've had a more complex divorce that you've been self-managing, that you feel that you've really learnt and grown, and my God, you will have connected with so many useful professionals who will be helpful in other areas of your life, way beyond your divorce. And that your children, if you have children, have, will grow up thinking, wow, my parents' divorce, they didn't do me any harm. Actually, they did it so well. And, they live in different houses, but we're still a family. We're just an extended family now. So, good luck, and hope you find all these resources useful. If you've got any questions, you want to just get a bit more support, whether it's through the divorce process or ongoing, feel free to apply to join the secret Facebook group.